are hermits, and we don't know what time it is. We get up, we work, we go to sleep, we crack a bottle of wine, we get up, we go to work. Sai doesn't even go out for walks, and it goes on like that, can go on for weeks. And our families don't see us, or whoever loves us don't see us. And it's quite a solitary, hermetic life. But doing that, we have a tremendous amount of fun. And how we do it is very simple, I'll tell you. Sai does all the work, as we all know. He's there, crouched over these blinking lights in semi-darkness like a mad professor, calculating, moving up sliders, giant wheels, levers that pulls, knobs that tweak. All this is going on. What's Roger and I'm doing? I'm sitting on the couch like this, doing sort of one of my doing. And after about 3 or 4 hours, Sai looks around and he says, "What was that like?" And I put my pencil down and sagaciously, could be a little better. So, really, I mean, work for another couple of days on that drum loop and go back to drawing, and Sai gets on with it. Then I play a few video games, and it's very, very enjoyable time up there. But Sai is a great worker. He's very dedicated. I'm sort of an ideas guy. You know, Sai says, "What sort of track are we going to do?" And we always talk in images of food. We never talk in musical terms. And you know, I've studied music, so I know about chords and stuff. But if I say to Sai, "Let's write something in G minor with a flatted fifth and a perverted 27th," it doesn't work. But if I say, "Let's have a meringue pie filled with lemon custard," and what I want is like a little tiny ripe strawberry just on the top. Sai then goes away and he comes back and he plays me an apple pie and a strawberry piece of music. It sort of works visually. Like
we do work very visually. I mean, often we'll, before we start doing anything, before we switch the computer on, we'll sit down and we'll talk. And, you know, Raj will come up with an image. I remember one being the lake shimmering in the sky.
Yeah.
And we used that one.
Or when Sai came back from India, he had a load of samples with you, and he was very stimulated from that. Or when I come back from Brazil and I've recorded carnival music in the street, or frogs chirping, or bamboo creaking together, or whatever, you bring your microphone out and record it, and then we Shpongleize it. And we have thousands and thousands of samples and ideas, but we're always trying.
Often a track will start from just a sample. Yeah. I remember you coming back from Brazil and you'd chase down the gas trucks that drive past on the road and make this sort of that haunting melody.
Yeah.
So the Shpongle box set, what's going on with that? Or wasn't it all meant to be over at the third album?
It was originally. We just sort of saw it as a trilogy. It just sounded good as a trilogy,
right.
And it sort of rounded itself off as a package.
Yeah.
And you know, after the end, we thought, you know, let's not do any more. It works sort of so good. Let's start something else. We always want to move on, move forwards, and start something new.
Yeah.
But we just missed Shpongle. It's a lot of fun, and we missed the fun.
And people going around the world would come up to you and ask you about Shpongle, and the amount of different people it reaches is so different than the trance world or the type of music I'm involved in, tip or DJing, because like my dentist plays Shpongle. My dentist hygienist bought 10 tickets to the Roundhouse concert before I even knew it was confirmed, and she said she had 10 tickets. So like,
is she going to clean your teeth?
Yeah, she is afterwards. It's an amazing, little kids love Shpongle, grandmothers love Shpongle. So it's got a, what was the question?
About the Shpongle box set.
Yeah, the Shpongle, I haven't seen it myself. I mean, do you want to talk about Storm? Because he deserves a mention. Storm Thorgensen, would you like to say a few words about the box set and his artwork? Okay, that covers that subject. Moving swiftly on. Yes, no, we've got the iconic.
No, the box set we are still working on. I mean, now that we started a fourth album, it didn't seem a lot of point in doing a box set with just the 3 albums.
Yeah.
And now we've got Storm Thorgerson on board, who does the Pink Floyd artwork, famously.
The Prism, Floyd, the iconic master of visuals, Storm.
He's done thousands of he's always featured heavily in those greatest album covers of all time books and compilations.
So he's doing.
And so now he's working on the box set. Yeah. Then now we have to do a box set. Otherwise, we'll just have this Storm Thorgerson image on my wall, which wouldn't be so bad.
What's the box set going to include? What will be in there?
This will just be empty. It'll just have Storm Thorgerson's artwork.
It'll be 4 albums, right? 4 albums in a DVD?
I don't know.
Sure of that.
There's one thing that I would like to put in there, which is throughout the Shpongle sessions in the studio, a lot of time we make sort of weird vocal sounds, as you can probably tell on the record, and a lot of times I'll set the microphone up in front of Raj and start working, trying to get a sound, and go, Raj, can you just keep talking, please? Something which seems to come very naturally and very easily. And he just goes on these remarkable journeys, just telling stories like something out of sort of Roald Dahl, My Uncle Oswald, or some sort of old Victorian explorers. We've had Russian contortionists in a box.
Yeah,
We've had just many of them. I kind of like in the box set to have a CD just of Raj's stories while we're trying to work on a sound.
Yeah, well, it's very much like music. I mean, that's what I do on the flute. I improvise. I don't know what notes I'm going to play. That's the experience of your life for the raga of the moment. And talking's like that too. If you get the right company and the right situation, as we know, we're all like that. Sometimes one gets very free with the English language, which is such a beautiful language. And we have a lot of mental excursions together, and Sai is a great encourager. But often he'll have a microphone. I mean, you probably know the story about Frisbee.
But my head feels like a frisbee, the sample.
Well, you know that sample, my head feels like a frisbee.
I'll start the story from my perspective.
Do you want to hear the story? Is it boring?
I mean, not at all.
Who knows?
So we were working on this track. My head feels like a frisbee. It didn't have that name at that point, and I'm working away, and Raj is always sort of, he's always around, even if he's just scribbling away in his book. And he disappeared. I looked around, there's no sign of Raj anywhere. And I had these patio doors that went out into the garden, and Raj suddenly appeared at the door looking completely white and sweating and just absolutely deranged. Like a very confused Albert Einstein stumbles into the room.
That's a good image.
And I said, "What happened, Raj? Where have you been?"
No, but that's why I fell down. I was on the ground when you came up to me. I didn't walk into the room. Remember, you came out looking.
Oh, and you were hanging on the wall. That's right. You were holding onto the wall, hanging there.
I just finished some pollen from a bag of skunk, which was just on the bottom of the bag, and it was the most ultra strong smoke I think I've ever had. And I just had this pipe, and I fell down.
And I knew as soon as he started to tell the story, I knew it would be good. I said, "Wait, just let me get the microphone."
But I wanted
put the microphone in front of him. Now, what just happened to you?
And so I told him what had happened. The whole, you'll hear it on a frisbee. But instead of helping me up and escorting me to the couch, I really needed medical attention at that point. All he did was record the whole thing and left me lying there, and then immediately put it in the computer and started working on it, and then we got a track out of it. And a couple of hours later I sort of crawled out, and I had done my bit for the day. And I'm still looking for the bottom of that bag of skunk.
You come up with some of the greatest names for your tracks of your songs. I mean, where do these title names come from?
Well, what would you call a great name?
Just like, Divine Moments of Truth, or, Blissful Awareness, all these wonderful, track names. Where do they come from? They are all
we don't take anything from books, so it's not like we underline something that we've read a good line. Everything that we sort of try to do has to come from an experience that we've either shared together or talking about life or philosophy, and just in conversation things come up, or certain words come up, or play on words like Star Spangled Banner, or Around the World in a Tea Days, or they're sort of puns, but there are other more Rumours of Vapors, or there are so many tracks and so many connotations of those titles, and they do give you a sort of a feeling of something, like periscopes of the imagination. I just love that image of like your imagination and putting the periscope up like a submarine and going around like that.
If only that actually was the name of one of our tracks, then it would be great.
Let's write a track.
It's Periscopes of Consciousness.
Oh, well, that was the one I can tell you.
This is part 2. That's the one we're working on.
I see. That got me there, Poss. That was good.
What about schnitzeled in the Negev?
No, what is the worst smell that you've ever had in your